Welcome to NBA Countdown, presented by Mountain Dew.
And welcome inside Madison Square Garden. We're about a half hour from tip-off. The Knicks and the Celtics tonight. And we welcome you one and all to the world's most famous arena. Thank you for joining us for the start of our NBA journey on ESPN this year. Greeny and Wilbon and Stephen A. and Jalen Rose. We are ready to go for day 2 of the 75th anniversary season of the NBA. Day 1 was very interesting. And of course, it finished up with the Lakers and the Warriors last night. And if you didn't get to see it, here's what you missed. Warriors, Golden State a come from behind win. The first time LeBron James and Anthony Davis have both scored 30 and the Lakers have lost. But so much of the attention today has been on the struggles of Russell Westbrook, who failed to reach double figures in points or assists or rebounds and looked generally uncomfortable all night. LeBron?
I just think it was just the first game jitters, to be honest. I don't put too much into it. Just probably was a lot just going through his mind, just being a kid from LA and, watching the Lakers growing up, and then however many years down the road, now you're putting on a Laker uniform and you're stepping into Staples Center. And, those things, those demands and those asks and those things will quiet down as the season go on and on. So not worried about Russ at all.
It's one game. We don't mean to overreact, but Michael Wilbon, what will ultimately the role for Russell Westbrook be for this group of Lakers to be successful?
Well, they're going to have to figure that out, and LeBron's going to be huge in figuring it out. But everybody's talking today about Russell Westbrook changing the way he plays. I don't want to see that. I want to see him be Russ, and he can be that starting the game, closing the game, but in the middle of the game for the great majority of the minutes, why not come off the bench and be at that second unit, be the guy? He's still Russell Westbrook. He's playing with he's playing with Trevor Ariza. He's playing with Carmelo. He's playing with Dwight Howard. And he's still Russ. He's got the ball in his hands. He's got to decide to do that. He's got to suggest it himself. Nobody can force it on him. But I think they'd be the best bench in the league if Russ had that role in the middle. Remember, Scottie Pippen started games, closed games, but he was with that second unit when they won those 6 championships.
What you couldn't see was Stephen A. shaking his head while you were talking.
Because that's not going to happen. Mike Wilbon is dreaming, and we all know this, and we need to say so. The fact of the matter is, Russell Westbrook has started and finished every game of his career, and that ain't about to change when he finally has arrived in Los Angeles.
I'm not asking him not to start or finish.
I understand. This is a walking triple-double, and we understand what he brings to the table. The flip side to it is that with that particular team, with LeBron James and Anthony Davis being a focal point, Russell Westbrook may not have that jump shot, that consistent jump shot that we're looking for from him, but you can get to the hole. You can be aggressive. You can push that pace and be the facilitator we all know he is capable and unselfish enough to be. Those are the things that you have to do in order to justify being that third wheel with the Los Angeles Lakers.
The future Hall of Famer Russell Westbrook, we didn't just learn that he's not a knockdown three-point shooter.
That's true.
So therefore, as a coaching staff, you got to do some things to protect him against that. One, you can't start DeAndre Jordan. It distorts the spacing, and it takes away his opportunity to do the cuts that you described. The second thing, Wilbon, it don't matter if he starts or comes off the bench. When he's in the game with Rondo, he can't be playing off the ball.
You're right.
That's the other thing they got to rectify. Then the other thing is they got to play a lot faster. They're an oldest team in the league, but he's still fast. So they got to get out in transition, get him some layups, get his confidence going. Russell Westbrook could be just fine.
And by the way, he ain't that old. I mean, 32. He ain't 36 like LeBron. He ain't 37 like Carmelo Anthony. He's faster and stronger than most, unquestionably the most athletic point guard in the history of basketball. This guy can still get it done. Just don't expect him to do it from the perimeter. That's all we're saying.
Well, let me ask you this. If you've got two guys, you got Anthony Davis and LeBron with the ball in the spaces they are, and you're right about clogging lanes, can Russ be Russ in that with that personnel grouping?
That will be a question that we will try to answer as we go forward into the season. It's 1 out of 82 so far. We have so much left to do tonight as we take you up till 10. His other team, the Brooklyn Nets, last night shot 17 of 32 from 3 in their loss against the Bucks. Patty Mills leading the way, hitting all 7 of his three-point attempts. That was the most threes without a miss in Nets history. So that sounds good. But the reality is the Nets got blown out, which Stephen A. begs the question. question. What are the Brooklyn Nets without Kyrie Irving?
I still think they're a potential Eastern Conference champion, if not an NBA champion. I believe in KD. I believe in James Harden. And listen, I know Kyrie is important. I know he's big time because he's a spectacular player. But we also know that he's a bit different and a bit touched, to say the least. He's got some things on his mind that have nothing to do with basketball. Walking around like he about to part the Red Sea or something. I don't know what's going on with him right now. But in the end, you got KD and you got Harden, two of the most prolific scorers in the history of this game, on the same team with a championship on their mind. I think they can make some noise. They just got to get it together because they haven't played together enough.
I would never disrespect the greatness of Kevin Durant or James Harden.
But,
however, the Nets are not winning the East or the championship without Kyrie Irving. I wish I could say that in a different language.
Right.
And the reason is to make up for their deficiencies up front. Claxton, he's a young fella, he can block shots, but he doesn't have the physicality to get in front of Giannis and Embiid. Blake Griffin, Millsap, Aldridge, they're all older. So since you're not going to get better at that spot, you got to score more. Kyrie allows you to score more. Without that, they lose to Miami or the Bucks in the playoffs.
Jalen started this a couple of days ago. I didn't want to buy it at first.
I ain't buying it.
Stephen A., I'm going to go with you to a point. I think they could win the East, but Milwaukee, I was reminded last night that when you're a champion, you feel so good about your team and yourselves. And the Milwaukee Bucks have every reason. Now Middleton is a made man. You look at the authority with which he plays now. I know it's one night, and I don't want to overreact to it, but I'm watching the Bucks, and I'm thinking, you know what, Jalen's right about this. The Bucks are the favorites in the East.
Okay.
I didn't say Brooklyn couldn't win.
Hold it.
Because I believe in Harden at point guard.
We ain't seen favorites lose before. I didn't say they weren't the favorites.
Yes.
I'm telling you they gonna go down. I'm telling you when James Harden and Kevin Durant get it together, nobody in the East is stopping them. That's what I'm saying.
Do you believe Milwaukee is as good, if not better, actually better than they were when they finished the season?
Right now, yes.
Me too.
I don't think it'll last.
Why not?
Because Kevin Durant and James Harden set up.
In the meantime, I like to call that man Rostradamus because he sees the future. How is the Kyrie thing going to play out?
I think the holiday season is coming.
Right.
And we all start to feel a little festive. And he's going to be watching his family play out on the floor and struggle at times.
Yep.
And around Thanksgiving, Christmas, I believe Kyrie will be implied to go get vaccinated and join his team. That's my holiday wish.
Look, man, I'm not saying he's lazy, that he's not home working on his condition in his game, etc. But up here, he want to do what he wants to do when he wants to do it, whenever he pleases. In other words,
that's not new.
That's not new. He doesn't want to work. So guess what? He's going to take time off until Jalen said, right around Thanksgiving or so, or a little bit later than that, and then he's going to say, all right, my brother's suffering, I'm going to come to the rescue.
So if Kyrie Irving does come back, are the Bucks still your favorite in the East?
They may be. Here's the thing. If you're the Milwaukee Bucks and you just won, I know you won by the size of Kevin Durant's shoe being a little too large, not being a 3. You just won a championship in July, and all you've heard for 4 months is how great the other team is, how great Brooklyn is. I'm just saying, the Milwaukee Bucks, you know what, Stephen A.? Because they're not glamorous, because they play in a small market, so many people have overlooked Milwaukee, and it's wrong.
Listen, people are sleeping on them.
Yeah.
I respect them. They're the reigning defending NBA champions. But when it comes to the notion of them going up against the big 3 in Brooklyn, I'm snoring. I'm not sleeping. I'm snoring. Ain't nobody beat Kyrie, KD, and James Harden.
And you
can cancel that.
I agree with you, except you say big 3 and Kyrie's not currently in uniform, Stephen A.
He was saying that
right.
even if he came back.
I know. I'm just saying, they're going to miss Kyrie Irving so much without him in the lineup. The offensive prowess that he has, the ability to get a shot off the dribble, they can't make up those deficiencies up front. They're going to need his scoring.
Okay.
And the idea that they're going to win the East without Kyrie, it just minimizes his greatness. And as a champion and as a big shot maker.
Minimizing his great
point, Jalen.
And the reality is,
as
we touched on earlier, the East is loaded this year. There were some who were making an argument the East is just as good as the West is, and the young Boston Celtics might be a part of that mix. Jaylen Brown, he and Jason Tatum getting set to take the floor here tonight and try and ruin the home opener for the Knicks and their fans. It's the Knicks and Celtics coming your way at the bottom of the hour. Meanwhile, coming up next here, the disaster that is the
President of basketball operations, head coach Brad Stevens succeeding him, and Ime Udoka taking over as head coach. On the other side, Kemba Walker making his Knicks debut after spending last season trying to figure things out. Walker, a Bronx native, played just 99 games across 2 seasons with Boston. He loves the bright lights of the Big Apple. And for the Celtics, is this the year their dynamic duo takes the next step? Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown combined averaged 51 points per game last season, the most among teammates under the age of 25. NBA Countdown getting you ready for the matchup. Here's Greeny. Take it away, Mike.
All right, Kevin, thank you very much. It is a beautiful night here in New York City, a perfect night for everyone to get back in here in the Garden and watch the Knicks play, including their most famous fan. Guess who's in the house? How's Spike Lee looking, guys? What do you think?
Spike looking young, looking youthful.
That's right. I see the hat. I don't know about the hat, but we're gonna go with that.
That's
We gonna
good,
go with
Stephen
that.
A.
We gonna go with that.
Iconic, legendary.
Yes, sir.
Spike is hoping for big things from the Knicks. It's a jam-packed Eastern Conference. So here's the question. Which of these two teams that we're going to see tonight, Knicks or Celtics, which one has a better season?
I think the Knicks. And my bias is I got two people that I really follow so closely. Derrick Rose, whose entire life I follow, and I cheer for him. So I admit my bias. But Tibbs, I think, listen, if you get the group of people that don't mind that Tibbs is going to make demands, but that's going to pay off by April, May. And I don't know about the Celtics. I need to see a third producer, Jalen. A big third producer. We have all those stats about what those two guys do, all right, on the wing. Where's the third producer, major producer? I like the direction the Knicks are going. I'm going.
What do you think, Jay?
See, I'm confused right now because I wanted to say the Boston Celtics. I really did, because I feel like Tatum and Brown are two of the best players if we were going to line each roster up. But Stephen A., your New York Knicks is my answer. I really wanted to disagree with you. I really wanted to disagree with you, and here's why.
Right there.
Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, Mitchell Robinson is returning.
Mitchell Robinson being back is huge.
Fournier is going to be like a 20-point scorer, making game-winning shots.
Preach.
You're going to be happy about your squad, bro.
I almost feel like Stephen A. should recuse himself from the question.
Yeah, maybe I should, but I'm not. Okay, let me tell you something. Listen, we got to crawl before we walk. We crawled last year. We're going to walk a little bit this year. Let's get out the first round. And I'm glad you brought up that name, Mitchell Robinson, because it's very, very important. Look, no disrespect to Nerlens Noel or whatever, but, I mean, he barely weighs 5 pounds more than me, okay? The bottom line is that we need Mitchell Robinson in the middle. We know that we got a perimeter player in a Fournier. We got a guy in Kemba Walker that's not a statue. This dude can play the point guard spot. He can score. And not only that, can spell for Derrick Rose, which is going to keep Derrick Rose fresh. Yep. And then you got Mitchell Robinson, who's 7'1", about 270. Listen, he's a rim protector.
Yeah.
He's a shot blocker. He's a rebounder. He elevates their level of defensive prowess. I love what I'm seeing right now, and I'm picking the Knicks to get out of the first round. Absolutely. We here. That's what I'm saying.
In an Eastern Conference that might actually now challenge the West. I'm not sure that there's that much difference as there has been over the last decade or so between the West and the East.
I think the East is
deeper. The Stars are out tonight. We showed you Spike. Take a look at this. How you like it now? He is ready to go. There's Mark Jackson, Jeff Van Gundy, Mike Breen getting ready for the call. We'll be here for NBA Countdown at the top of the hour, and then the Knicks and Celtics to immediately follow here from Madison Square Garden. Back to you.
Greedy, thank you.
30 on ESPN. Evan Fournier, former Celtic great. Now a Knicks.
Well, at 8 Eastern tonight, Sixers taking on the Pelicans in New Orleans. Now, New Orleans will be without former number 1 pick Zion Williamson, who is currently recovering from off-season foot surgery. The Pelicans have said that Zion will be on a minutes restriction when he does return to the floor, so he can't play because of injury. On the other side, Ben Simmons isn't playing because of ego. The Sixers without him, as he serves a 1-game suspension for conduct detrimental to the team following an incident at yesterday's practice where Doc Rivers threw him out. Simmons' status moving forward up in the air. Here is Rivers earlier today.
You want all your players to do well. You cheer for your players. Even when they're in a tough spot, you want it to go well for them. You do. It's a predicament that we're in, and that part is no fun. It really isn't. We get to play right now. Ben's not. I want Ben to be playing. That's his job. I don't like any player losing money. Like, there's so many things about this that I don't like. But that doesn't mean you still don't have to do your job, and that's the tough part.
Doc mentioning losing money. You lost money missing the preseason games, losing money tonight at least $360,000. We're live from New Orleans as NBA insider Brian Windhorst joining us. Wendy, so how are the Sixers feeling about the current Simmons situation as they start their season tonight?
Yeah, look, they can say that their chemistry is good, which they have, but being around the team, it is not an opening night vibe. This weighs on them. And, Doc Rivers was saying this morning that after they did the suspension yesterday, he's getting text messages saying, boy, good job, way to stand up to, the player. And Doc's like, this is not a happy thing. This is not something you want to hear good job about. This is a sad moment. And so this is a team that, Kevin, obviously a year ago was the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. This team should be starting this season talking about a championship. Instead, every day they talk about their missing point guard, and that is an unfortunate reality.
Yeah, exactly. 4 months ago today was that Game 7 loss where the pass occurred, and that was the last time we saw Ben Simmons in a Sixers uniform. We won't see Zion in a Pelicans uniform tonight as he deals with a right foot injury that required off-season surgery. When could we see the 21-year-old return to the court here?
Kevin, no time soon. The Pelicans are being very careful not to mention any timeline, but he is a few weeks away from getting reevaluated, and he is not doing any kind of significant on-court work. He's just begun starting to run again, doing 1-on-0 individual workouts. I would say that it's likely weeks away. They obviously are going to be very cautious, not only because of his foot, but because of his conditioning. So the Pelicans are going to start without Zion, but the problem is they've been used to this. He's only played about 50% of the games the last couple of years anyway.
You got to keep your fingers crossed here when you talk about injuries, especially the way he...
And the Knicks and the Celtics at 7:30 Eastern. Greeny and Wilbon and Stephen A. Smith and Jalen Rose. No one's more excited than Stephen A. is to be in. We'll talk about that. But you heard Kevin go through all the issues that we saw last night with the Lakers, and in particular with Russell Westbrook, where he just never seemed comfortable at all. Kevin referenced what LeBron had to say. Let's hear some more from LeBron after the game talking about his new teammate.
I just think it was just the first game jitters, to be honest. I don't put too much into it. Just probably was a lot just going through his mind, just being a kid from LA and, watching the Lakers growing up, and then however many years down the road, now you're putting on a Laker uniform and you're stepping into Staples Center. And, those things, those demands and those asks and those things will quiet down as the season go on and on. So not worried about Russ at all.
And that's fair. It's only one game, but the reality is the numbers suggest he just didn't do last night what he does. Look at this. He held the ball for only 3.5 seconds per touch. That's his third lowest rate in a game ever. He also averages lowest dribbles per touch in any game during that span. Simply put, he never looked comfortable last night. Stephen A., how is Russell Westbrook going to make himself a fit with these Lakers?
It's a challenge. There's no doubt about that. You know what? He's there because he's going to push the pace, and he's going to make it easier for Frank Vogel to rest LeBron James at times, and still him being out there and being a focal point offensively and really pushing the pace and making things happen. But in the end, when you struggle to have a consistent perimeter shot, okay, that is problematic in that particular with that particular team in that particular system, because with him on the floor with Rajon Rondo at the same time, that can't happen, which means you need him to play the point, you need him in the lineup, or you need to put him on the bench. And we both know the latter ain't gonna happen.
Jalen, you have any answers?
I have a lot of answers. First off, everybody, I am accepting zero Russell Westbrook slander in any way, shape, or form. Here's why. A couple of things. You have to start AD at the 5 when everybody gets healthy. You can't have DeAndre Jordan on the floor with Russ. There's no driving lanes. That's the first thing. The second thing is whether he's starting or off the bench. He can't be spotting up while Rajon Rondo is initiating the offense. That can't happen. And then thirdly, they got to play faster. That's what's going to get Russ going. He was out there like he was spotting up for threes. He's open for a reason, Wilbon, right?
Yes, open for a reason. Here's the thing. I agree with it. I mean, everything that LeBron said, you acknowledge that stuff was true, periods, all right? So we can get off the slander. It's early. Also, LeBron will figure it out largely. He'll figure out how it is they need to play, the pace of play. But I'm going to go back to something Stephen A. has knocked down. He can come off the bench. He can be with the second unit. Scottie Pippen played with the second unit through 6 NBA championships. It means you can start the game, you can finish the game.
No.
But you can't, hold on, Jalen.
No.
You can come, here's why. He can be out there with Carmelo. He can be out there with Dwight Howard. He can be out there. We talk about relief of LeBron and giving LeBron some rest. Well, why isn't Russ the guy in those minutes? He can be Russell Westbrook if he doesn't have to be with LeBron all the time.
I'm not saying that you're wrong. What I'm saying is he has started and finished every game of his career. And the first time in his hometown, he's going to accept otherwise.
I didn't change that.
I don't believe that.
I just said start and finish.
As the season gets underway, what are you most looking forward to in the NBA this year? Jalen, I'll start with you.
The era of Giannis has begun. You remember a couple of years ago when people felt like he should bolt from Milwaukee because Chris Middleton couldn't be the second best player on the championship team? Well, he stayed and he recommitted and he reinvested, and they won the championship. And he got more confident, and he was making free throws and blocking shots, and now he's shooting threes, and he's playing multiple positions defensively. He's only going to get better in the Eastern Conference. If Drew Holiday stays healthy, this is my choice to win the East. I know the Nets have a great big three, but Kyrie Irving isn't currently playing. I know that the Sixers have had a process, but Ben Simmons isn't playing tonight. The ascension of Giannis is what I'm looking forward to seeing.
Stephen A., how about you?
I mean, please. We've already seen the greatness of Giannis Antetokounmpo. There's no suspense there.
Yes.
Okay, here's the deal. There's a 3-time champion that's been out of the playoffs the last 2 years. But we saw him last night.
Okay.
Did you see Steph Curry, the greatest shooter the good Lord has ever created? We saw Klay Thompson on the bench. He's supposed to be coming back. We saw James Wiseman. He ain't there. He'll be back this season. I'm looking at the Golden State Warriors fantasizing about the Splash Brothers reuniting on the basketball court. And you know what I see?
Right.
You know what I see?
Yeah.
I see a potential champion returning to the scene of the championship.
Stephen A's going in.
Let me be very clear. The Los Angeles Lakers are my favorites, but it ain't an accident. I've been saying for months now.
You have been.
The Golden State Warriors with Klay Thompson could go to the finals. They're that serious. And last night they reminded us why. They won titles with Zsa Pachulia and Andrew Bogut. But James Wiseman,
we get a trade.
I'm just telling y'all.
Hey, but you know what? Jordan Poole might be most improved player this year.
And I love him too.
And they dealt with some injuries right now.
We expect
I ain't
Klay
mad at
Thompson
that. And Draymond Green
Klay
back
Thompson
balling.
perhaps back around Christmas. It'll be almost 1,000 days since he
I ain't mad
played.
at that.
Michael Wilbon, what are you most looking forward to?
A concept that we never associate with the NBA, parity. Lots of teams, not a handful of teams, lots of teams. There's 20 teams I want to see play.
League pass.
One of them is Detroit, and Cade Cunningham's out, so we're not going to see him right away. Team Jalen grew up rooting for. But my Chicago Bulls, Steve, they don't want to hear this, but Zach LaVine has come back from being an Olympian with, I'm told, a great new attitude.
Yeah.
He knows he needs to lead that franchise, new personnel. There's buzz about the Chicago Bulls for the first time in, I don't know, 4 or 5 seasons.
DeRozan, Caruso.
They're going to make the playoffs, not the play-in, the playoffs.
Vucevic.
All right?
I got 8 title contenders.
That's what Steve, we agree. That's
And
right,
maybe,
Jalen?
Yeah, I ain't mad at that. I'm not mad
maybe,
at
just
that.
maybe, Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks are one of them. The last time I was in this building, Trae Young was killing the Knicks and taking a bow at the end. And
you
I
gotta
am
bring that
looking
up,
forward
Greeny.
to seeing his ascension and see
Why you gotta do that, Greeny?
what does he have in store for us now. Is Trae Young
Thank you
ready
for
to
bringing
become
up
a
Atlanta.
legitimate
Thank you for bringing
NBA
up Atlanta.
superstar,
I
Stephen
can't
A?
dismiss that. He averaged 29 points and 10 assists against the New York Knicks in the first round. I'm not going to throw shade on Trae Young. I know that brother can play, but you ain't had to bring that up while we sitting at the Garden right now.
That is fair. Then let me show you a picture of your guy, Julius Randle, last year's most improved player. He's getting set to go. We'll be back at the Garden in just a few.
New York, you went to St. John's. You have very unique insight into what Kemba Walker is going through. What do you think it's going to be like for him to play at MSG, really just tonight and moving forward?
Well, it's great. The one advantage he has over me is I started my career, so as fresh out of college, I had to handle those situations. He's a mature veteran that's seen a lot in this league already, so he's going to handle it much better. But I tell you what, playing in front of fans, family members, teachers, classmates, from all the way from kindergarten all the way up to his high school and even in his college years playing relatively locally, it's a great experience and one he'll treasure for the rest of his life.
Who says you can't go home again? On the other side, of course, we've got the Celtics. They hired Ime Udoka to coach a roster led by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Where do you see this Celtics team fitting in what is a very stacked Eastern Conference?
I see them fitting in well. They did a great job of adding pieces in the offseason, getting veteran guys that are proven. You know what you're going to get, getting a quality coach in replacement of Brad Stevens and the job he did throughout his tenure as the head coach of the Boston Celtics. But this is a dangerous team. The main thing for me looking at the Celtic team is being healthy. And Dennis Schroeder is a guy along with Al Horford that I think is going to add a key piece of valuable experience and timely playmaking when it matters most for them.
And listen, he's armed with maybe the most dangerous of weapons, something to prove. Celtics and Knicks coming your way, 7:30 Eastern. Thank you, Mark Jackson. We'll see you in a bit.
Thank you.
NBA Countdown is next.
Let's go. That's my shot.